Welcome back to another episode of Stand on Guard. Promised you I'd be back tonight to talk about the budget. Federal budget 2024. What does it amount to? $40 billion more in the national debt. A $40 billion deficit. And we got $52.9 billion in new spending. $8.5 billion for housing. That's over 5 years for the 52.9, but it's much more than Trudeau or Finance Minister Chrystia Freeland were talking about in that last fall economic update. You recall? They were going to spend a lot less money. So how are they going to raise some money? How are they going to raise money? Well, they're going to start increasing the tax rate on capital gains transactions. So any transaction above $250,000, the tax will be set at 66.7%. The current rate is 50%. Now, if you're engaging in transactions above $250,000, does that make you rich? Or does that just make you have money in the bank? Does that make you upper middle class, perhaps? Is that what Trudeau's going after here? Is it now the turn of a portion of the middle class? Will they be included in his attacks, his financial attacks? Looks like it, because that's the only way he can make any revenue. Because as I've reported in the past, the Trudeau government is spending twice as much as it takes in. It collects half as much revenue as it spends. That's shocking. It's absolutely shocking. I mean, let's have a look at this chart before we get into the videos of Freeland. Look at this chart here. This is the escalation of the number of public employees, public servants, government employees, whatever you want to call them, bureaucrats, that Trudeau has hired since coming to power in 2015. I mean, that is absolutely incredible. But that's what he's done. That's more than any other prime minister in history. I mean, we know he has actually doubled the debt. He's increased the debt by more than all previous prime ministers. How else can you put this in terms that people can comprehend? And yet, he continues to do this. His unalloyed narcissism continues to triumph in his personal life, at least. And it continues to dominate Canadian politics until we can find a way to remove him. And that's got to be through the next election, through a non-confidence motion, which I'm beginning to wonder if the NDP will back eventually, because they can no longer see themselves as being tethered to this corrupt regime, because it's going to mean their own demise. I believe very strongly that's what's going. But clearly, if you look at these, I mean, it's absolutely astounding when you look at the statistics in terms of where we're going. This was a budget that increased the debt again, and that now has redefined the rich, and it's going after those people. Let's listen to Freeland hold forth here. Because it's quite entertaining.
Moving with purpose to help build more homes faster. We are making life cost less. We're driving the kind of economic growth that will ensure every generation of Canadians can reach their full potential. Together, we are putting into action a plan to build nearly 4 million homes by 2031 and to unlock the door to the middle class for more young Canadians.
All right, do you believe that? 4 million new homes? Does that not prompt gales of laughter? Yes, it did in the House today. And she went on from there.
Yet, I know, there will be many voices raised in protest. No one likes paying more tax, even, or perhaps particularly, those who can afford it the most. But before they complain too bitterly, I'd like to ask Canada's 1%, Canada's 0.1%, to consider this. What kind of country do you want to live in? Do you want to live in a country where you can tell the size of someone's paycheck by their smile? Do you want to live in a country where kids go to school hungry? Do you want to live in a country where a teenage girl gets pregnant because she doesn't have the money to buy birth control? Do you want to live in a country where the only young Canadians who can buy their own homes are those with parents who can help with the down payment? Do you want to live in a country where we make the investments we need in healthcare, in housing, in old age pensions, but we lack the political will to pay for them and choose instead to pass a ballooning debt on to our children? Do you want to live in a country?
Ballooning debt? Who's creating the ballooning debt? As I said earlier, Trudeau's doubled the national debt since he came into office, thanks in large part to Chrystia Freeland in her last 4 budgets.
Where those at the very top live lives of luxury, but must do so in gated communities behind ever higher fences, using private health care and private planes, because the public sphere is so degraded and the wrath of the vast majority of their less privileged compatriots burns so hot. Every one of us here in this chamber today, and every Canadian across our truly great country, needs to ask themselves these same questions, because the stakes could not be higher.
Yes, the stakes could not be higher. But of course, who's the one guilty of being the elite she's talking about? This is Chrystia Freeland.
Do you want to live in a country where those at the very top live lives of luxury?
And that, of course, is depicting how Chrystia Freeland selected her shoes for Budget Day. Of course, it's tradition in Canadian politics for the finance minister to pick out a new pair of shoes when announcing a new budget. Did Chrystia Freeland explore the shops and the stores of Ottawa or Toronto, where her riding is? No, she had a special group sent to her office with shoes for her to select in the privacy of her own office. Sounds like those people living in gated communities where the walls and the gates keep going higher and higher. That's Chrystia. I really liked what Pierre Poilievre, Conservative leader, Pierre Poilievre, said right before the budget. This is really his budget speech, and his budget reaction. And it was a reaction because we all knew what was in that budget long before Chrystia Freeland tabled it today. She let out most of the information early. So Poilievre knew what was in there, and here's what he had to say. And by the way, if you're enjoying this broadcast, please give it the thumbs up. Please like, and please subscribe if you haven't, or resubscribe. And we really appreciate any support you can offer. And if you like it now, and if you give it the thumbs up, we beat the Trudeau censorship and we beat the YouTube logarithm by doing that. So ring the bell, like the station, give it a thumbs up. You'll be notified of future broadcasts. Let's go to Poilievre's media conference today. He had some very good things to say.
Oh, tax your food, punish your work, take your money, double your housing costs, and unleash crime and chaos in your community, or common sense conservatives who will axe the tax, build the homes, fix the budget, and stop the crime. But there's still another year and a half where Canadians have to find a way to survive. So my message to Justin Trudeau is this, in one word: Stop. Stop doubling housing costs. Stop taxing our farmers and food when our single moms and seniors are going hungry. Stop the inflationary deficits that are driving up interest rates and forcing Canadians to lose their homes. Stop endangering our social programs and jobs by adding more and more debt. For the love of God, Justin Trudeau, you are not worth the cost. So today, will you please stop? Stop until common sense Conservatives can start governing with common sense for this country. A common sense plan to axe the tax, to bring down the cost of energy, food, and everything else. We will axe the carbon tax. That will make our businesses more competitive, our wages higher, our food more affordable. We'll cut income tax so hard work pays off. We'll fix the budget by bringing in a common sense dollar for dollar law that requires that we find $1 of savings for every new dollar of spending while we slash the waste and reduce the burden on the backs of Canadians. A smaller government with bigger citizens. Common sense plan uses technology.
So that, I think, says it all, does it not? That this is what we face today. And this is where we are. A very stark choice between more collectivism, increasing totalitarianism, higher taxes, greater debt, and crazy programs like medical assistance in dying, read euthanasia, Pride season, no longer Pride Day, Pride Month, it's Pride season, and a government that is not just focused, but fixated and obsessed completely with climate change to the point where they think everything that happens in nature is a result of climate change, whether it be floods, whether it be fires, whether it be gale force winds. It's all, according to them, a result of climate change. They have completely lost any degree of common sense. And they're looking for this catastrophic disaster that's coming because of the climate crisis. And everything is distracted to that. Now, talking about climate change, did you know farmers are really worried about climate change? They're not worried about the carbon tax, even though that's impoverishing them. Just listen to Stephen Guilbeault here. And as he talks yesterday, Monday, in question period, about the farmers he's talking to. Now, folks out there couldn't believe this. But let's have a listen.
Speaker. If the Conservatives had an ounce of intellectual integrity, they would admit to Canadians that 97% of fuel used on farms where there is pollution pricing is not taxed by the federal government, first of all. Secondly, do you know what I've been doing, Mr. Speaker, recently? I've been meeting with farmers from Quebec, Alberta, Nova Scotia. I've been meeting with grain farmers, cattle farmers. They don't talk to me about carbon pricing. They talk to me about the hundreds of millions of dollars due to impacts from climate change in the farming sector in the country.
Rubbish, balderdash. You really think he's talking to farmers are telling him they're not worried about the carbon tax? They're really worried, they're terrified about climate change. Don't believe it for a minute. This is the same minister who was not only a renegade Greenpeace activist who was arrested for trying to scale the CN Tower. This is the same minister who said he had letters from people praising him, thanking him for introducing the carbon tax. And when an access to information request demanded he supply those letters, he come up with them. Well, Guilbeault couldn't find them. They had disappeared. And, you know, we really wish this minister would disappear because, I mean, just have a look at some of these charges. tens of thousands of dollars. Charges for natural gas, carbon tax charges for the use of natural gas that farmers are using to heat their barns. Where did Guilbeault get this 97% is not affected? We don't know. They won't say. Once again, it's a number that exists in Guilbeault's mind and Trudeau's mind, and they keep repeating it so you think it must be true. Here's more bills. Total, $8,392.54. That is absolutely astounding. And more. This is from a mushroom farm in Pierre Poilievre's riding. Look at those numbers. These people are paying tens of thousands of dollars in carbon tax charges. They're not getting the rebate. They're not getting this back in their pockets. And neither are 8 out of 10 Canadians whom this government consists are getting the rebate back. And they're getting more back in the rebate than they're putting out in the carbon tax. And it's a lie. And they know it's a lie. The Parliamentary Budget Officer has indicated that most Canadians are getting the short end of the stick from the carbon tax. Stop calling it a carbon rebate because it's utter nonsense. And they know it. They know it. The Liberals know it. This is a government that's desperate to find some way of buying back a public that has grown not only cold, but completely hostile to this government. This is a government that is desperately trying to find some niche in Canadian society that still supports its aims and objectives. It is utterly failing to do that because that niche simply doesn't exist. Whether it's young Canadians or old Canadians, whether it's new immigrants or whether it's immigrants who have been here for many years, whether it's white, black, brown, or any colored Canadian, this government has lost its support. And they've lost their support because people are sick of working for the government and they're sick of Trudeau's censorship and his cult of death that dominates this country. And this budget, despite trying desperately to promote some degree of hope in the future, 4 million new homes, I'm sorry. That's a pipe dream. That's illusionary. That is your talking points in your script. That is fantasy. And this budget continues to promote and promulgate fantasy. But, as Pierre Poilievre said, this government won't be around for much longer. But we need to find the strength, the resolve to resist the government and its programs and its bills right now. So thanks for watching today. We love you. Thank you for your support. And thank you for bearing with us at times when you need to do that too. Thank you for watching this episode of Stand on Guard and being a part of the Krayden'S Right channel. If you've watched this episode to this point, you've watched it all. And that's really important for a small station like this. We always say subscribe, hit the bell, be a part of the Krayden resistance. Resolve to resist. That's what we're doing. And if you become a subscriber, if you're a supporter of this station or a member through Substack, through YouTube, and now you can be a local as well, that's so important to us because I couldn't do this without you. I made a decision to become an independent journalist about a year ago because I wanted to bring all of my experience in the military, in journalism, to you. I don't promise anything I can't deliver. I don't offer clickbait. I offer truth. The truth is out there, and it's my job to bring that truth to to light, and to you. Thanks for being a part of the Krayden's Right resistance, and we'll